Welcome back, everybody, to Me and Jesse podcast. I am Mark Pavlik, your way in the Grove, the big, sexy Jesse Martineau. And ladies and gentlemen, our special guest tonight, UFC vet, MFC former champion, comedian, all-around good guy, the one and only Tom Gallicchio, everybody.
Hey, thank you for having me, guys. I'm excited to be here.
Hey, we're excited to have you, too. Now, again, Mark said something crazy, like comedian, but we're going to get into that in a minute. First of all, you're in Chattanooga, Tennessee. What's going on in Chattanooga these days? We don't hear much out of Chattanooga.
Yeah, what is going on in Chattanooga?
Well, we have the most Southern Division I wrestling team.
Oh.
For college.
Okay.
That's a fun little nugget I learned about Chattanooga. They're rebuilding the whole city, it seems to be, or at least there's just a ton of construction on the highways.
How far is it from Nashville?
We're about two and a half hours.
Okay, yeah.
2 hours.
Yeah.
With traffic, 3 days.
Yeah. I was just in Nashville. Man, Tennessee is, I like Tennessee.
Yeah, Tennessee's awesome. See, we're about 2 hours / 3 days from Atlanta, too.
Okay.
Yeah, right in the middle there.
We're right from the line, the southern border.
That's right.
That's excellent. So you, again, for everyone that doesn't know, the 3 people that don't know who you are, people don't realize that you were champion in the MFC. Where did you win that belt? Was it in Edmonton?
Edmonton.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
That's right.
What do you think about Edmonton?
I like Edmonton. The people are really cool in Edmonton. Real down to earth. And then one time when I went and visited, I got to hang out in the mall for 2 days.
Yeah.
Every teenage girl's dream.
Yeah, I know. It's always shocking when people see the giant water park in a mall. But yeah, well, that's cool. How long ago was that, Mark? That championship?
That was at least 12 years ago, 13, 14 years ago. Tom, is that right?
Yeah, maybe about 2015, 2014.
14, maybe. Yeah, 10 years ago.
14.
Wow, is that crazy? I remember it like yesterday.
Me too. That was one of my biggest accomplishments.
Well,
yeah, you did have to go through the fire to get to there. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't. That's one thing about the MFC. It was never an easy road for someone to become a champ. That's a fact. So if you ever wore the MFC belt, you were legit. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how I always looked at it.
Oh yeah, I mean, you guys were, I think, number 3, number 4 in the world with promotions. Definitely
at that time, number 3 in the world. And you literally, you had to go through stuff. Like you had to get here. Like there was just no one got a free ride. People don't realize this. There's never been a champion from Edmonton that was the MFC champion. Never happened.
No, and it was hard to even get in. I mean, you had to be somebody to get in.
Yeah,
you just couldn't not have a lot of fights.
Yeah, that's right. It was just like you knew you were going to fight someone like that was legit for the title. You knew you were going to fight someone on the way up the ladder, then that guy, and it's like literally there was guys from Edmonton that I put in that position, 2 or 3 different guys, and not all of them got destroyed, literally destroyed. And it wasn't like I was pushing them to get there. I was just people in the city were like, hey, Mark, come on, we want to see a hometown guy. And I'm like, guys, this is not a hometown show. It outgrew the city. It outgrew the country. And you look at guys like Sam Alvey, yourself, Ben Henderson, all these guys, Douglas Lima, Diego Lima, all of them fought in the MFC, right? And it's like, they all came from somewhere, and some are still going to this day,
Yeah, there's still a couple left out there.
Yep.
I think is Burchak still fighting?
Burchak doesn't fight but he has his own school now in Phoenix, and he's got his own jiu-jitsu school, and he's got that going on. And that's what we have to do. Maybe a super fight between you and him in a grappling match,
I'm probably 2 of him now.
Yeah. A little off on the weight classes now, but hey, it's grappling, right? So
yeah, who cares?
I did hear a rumor, Tom, that you had to wax your back for the MFC.
Back, chest. They thought they put a bear in the ring. I was the hairiest guy in Edmonton.
So you actually did it?
Oh, I did it. Man, did it really scorch the earth too? It was. I had so many ingrown hairs. It took me a couple of years to recover for that.
Okay, so you have a great MMA career, and then where does comedy fit into this?
Well, you got to put your so you train all the time, and you're passionate about something, and then once you're done, that passion's got to go into something else. And I've always
100%.
liked comedy. I always listened to it all growing up, and so that became my hobby.
Who did you listen to growing up, Tom?
Oh, I would listen. I mean, of course, there's always the guys who made it big, like Bill Burr. I liked Nick DiPaolo. I liked of course, Dave Chappelle, Tom Papa. I grew up on like those '90s comedians.
Yes.
Sure,
Yeah,
sure.
totally.
So that are kind of in the superstar now. We're still hammering away. Colin Quinn. Shoot, the list
So
goes
you
on.
don't.
McDonald's. The list
So
goes
you
on.
don't. You don't. Do you still go out and do your thing?
I took a little bit of hiatus
Okay.
because we have to move about 40 minutes away from the city. So I'm in the farm, and now a farm country. I'm about 40 minutes from my gym, and when I go to my gym, I'll have to get there early, and I'm not going to go home with a split schedule, so I'll just stay there all day and work.
Of course.
Hopefully in the summer I can start back up again though.
Yeah.
Once I live closer to a city.
Is it something you could see or do yourself being like a long-term comedian? Because that's the thing about it, right? Comedians, it's different world. It's a totally different world. And literally, do you see yourself like that's something that after jujitsu that you would pursue on a regular basis?
Well, I got my gym now, and
Yeah.
that makes it like, because if you want to do something, it's hard to half do it.
Yeah,
Like you
that's
got to
so
be
true.
going. You got to be going to open mic nights 4 nights a week.
Yeah.
Travel into Atlanta, travel into Nashville, Knoxville, which I was doing when I was doing it was fully submerged. Then it got to a point when I moved, I'm like, the business is paying right now.
Yeah.
So it's like it's hard to be a full-time business owner, gym owner, as well as a head coach and be a comedian too.
Yes.
Yeah,
Because comedy's the night game, you're not, there's no 2 o'clock comedy clubs.
No. You're up late all the time.
Yeah, that's right.
All the time.
Yeah, for sure. So your gym now, like what's special? Because we've had so many people on the show. Everybody has a gym, but what sets yours apart?
Well, I like to think we have the best coaching staff in Tennessee, if not Georgia as well. Got a guy named Alex Roberts. He fought in the K1 Grand Prix twice from Japan. An old school. Yeah, I found him. So he's about an hour away. I pay him to travel. We got myself. We got Sam Alvey, the 2 MFC champs in the house.
Crazy.
My wife, she's a high-level jiu-jitsu practitioner. Then a bunch of Coach Dan, Coach John, black belts.
So Sam is in your city too as well, right? In that area.
No, he's about he travels about 2 hours to me.
Oh, he does. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. But he's still active as a fighter. So
Yeah. He's still the karate combat heavyweight champ. Is he?
Yeah.
We just had him on a little while ago, and he just
a
won
little
that.
while ago. Yeah, Sam was on.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wants to be the Mike Perry of karate combat.
Yeah.
That's good.
He's doing a good job.
He is.
How was it? Okay, let's talk about comedy with MMA. I mean, there's guys that are hilarious when they talk, and there's a few of them. There's not as many maybe as there was, but
yes.
How much of that is how important is that in today's business of MMA?
Oh yeah, you gotta be able to sell yourself. What's kind of different though? Like the landscape's definitely changed. There's not as many superstars as there was.
Right.
Correct.
Like people don't buy the fights to watch a specific guy anymore. They're just buying the product now. And I think that just becomes with, the Dana White Contender Series, all these fights they have. The Ultimate Fighter's not what it used to be. You really don't get to know these guys and their personality.
Yeah, that's true.
You were on the Ultimate Fighter twice.
Yes.
What like when you walk in there the first day, the first time you're on there, what's going through you?
Well, the first time I was on, I had to fight to get in, and after a big weight cut, it's if you don't win, you're out.
Yeah.
But after winning, it was like you wanted to have a party and celebrate, but you can't do that because you got to go fight some more, and they lock you away. So it's like you get all excited you won, and you're in the house, but it's not like you could really celebrate.
I
Or
have a
anything.
strange suspicion you didn't have a hard time in that house. Like,
No,
like it wasn't a hard thing for you.
no, not at all. It was
No,
pretty
I know,
easy
yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
You see, we hear
that-
different things sometimes. Some guys really don't struggle in there.
No, I liked it. It's like summer camp. I was happy to be away from communication, responsibilities. You could eat whatever you want. You could run utilities however you wanted, and it was just a lot of joking around. And
How long are you in
BS.
there for the season?
First one was 8 weeks. The second one was 6 weeks
Okay,
because there was no fight to get in on the second one, so
Yeah.
they cut a week.
I got
I
you.
figured you would be able to amalgamate into that situation quite easily. Like there's some people that I've met along the way that I know they would struggle immensely with that. But after meeting you multiple times, I knew that that wouldn't be a hard thing for you.
No, it wasn't.
Relief. It was more like a relief for you, was it not?
Oh yeah, I mean, you're there for a reason. You're definitely so. I got eliminated the first time early, so then you're stuck in the house. But the second time, I fought till the last day against Diego Lima, and
Yeah.
you're a little bit on edge the second time. Like if you're actively fighting, and it was all our team, so you're on edge on practice. Like, is this guy watching me? Is that guy watching me?
Yeah, of course.
You can't really relax. But the first time you're out and there's no chance of getting back in because Conor McGregor made it sure his buddy came in and messed up the whole bracket.
Yeah, that's right.
There was no chance of getting back. So it's like, all right, I'm going to play some darts. I'm going to shoot some pool,
That's
hang
it.
out. It was summer
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
Okay.
train.
Well, we know so much about Tom Gallicchio, the MMA icon. Take us back to when you're 12 years old. What is that Tom Gallicchio like? What was he like then?
Oh, shoot. Good question. I was kind of, wasn't like super popular or anything. I had a core group of friends. I think I just started getting into wrestling. I was a little chubby, not good at school, couldn't sit still very well.
So during that time, like what you said, like that was when you started wrestling. What was it that flipped in you then?
They were just handing out wrestling flyers at the school, and I thought, I would go in and be jumping off of top ropes and
Right.
turnbuckles and stuff. And then when I got there, there's a mat with a bunch of kids with some beat up clothes and a bunch of dads coaching who've wrestled before. And so I got into our school's youth program. Well, it was their off season program, their feeder program. And I wasn't half bad at it. So it's something I took to opposed to like baseball was always kind of boring to me.
Yeah.
Wasn't very good at it either. Soccer.
When did people
wasn't my
realize
thing.
and when did you realize you were a good wrestler?
I was always like in the upper echelon, but not till high school, like is where I really like learned that, it's got to be a full-time thing. I got to submerge myself in this if I want to, be a state champ. So that's when I really like the hard work got instilled to me.
What does that look like? What did that look like as a high school student, 15, 16, 17 years old? Hard work, because it can be shocking.
We had a coach who was really, really into we were kind of not the best school, so he's like, we're going to be in the best shape possible, and he would just work and cardio the hell out of us, and then
which makes a huge difference, right? Which makes a huge difference on the grand scheme of things, right? So later on in matches, right, in wrestling, I've always noticed that it's kind of like that's what usually fails people, regardless of how great your technique is, right? It's like conditioning usually comes and plays a factor.
It's like the best martial art you could have.
Yeah.
That's the best weapon.
It is. It is.
Not just like breathing, but the ability to just keep on fighting during adversity.
Did you watch the UFC this last weekend?
No, I
You didn't watch it. Yeah, I would figure you would. Like, I would. I was going to ask the question and say, I probably figured that you would. No, you're sideways. So
Oh, hold on. There we
Okay.
go.
that's
Wait,
okay.
wait.
Flip yourself.
There we go. Somebody wanted to call me. I'm not
I
taking
know,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
not what
So,
happened.
so I would figure that you wouldn't. You're not the guy that sits around and waits for the UFC to come out.
No, no. Unless I know somebody, but
Yeah.
there's less and less I know now. Like
Yes. Yeah.
personally,
Yeah.
I see more of the guys I used to fight with coaching people now.
Oh, okay.
Right. Yeah.
Like I know Pereira's coach, the big guy Polino. He's always with.
Yeah. Yeah.
We went to Russia together. Tim Welsh.
Yeah. Tim Wilson.
Seeing him coaching O'Malley all the time. So it's seeing some of these guys that were peers at one point now getting their fighters in.
How many students you got at your school now?
About 160.
Oh,
Okay,
geez.
good.
Wow,
Good,
that's
good.
pretty good.
So
Yeah,
what's
we just
what's your
hired a
number? What's the
manager.
number you want? What's the number you need?
Right now,
200?
I just hired a manager,
Okay.
a GM. So we're getting him dialed in. I'm thinking like 200 before we go to the next facet, which
Yeah.
is hopefully getting a bigger building. And then, I'd like to have, the more the better. I'll
Yeah.
keep
Yeah, yeah.
adapting along the
Yeah,
way.
300 seems like the magic number to make real King Kong money in the martial art
Yes.
world. Because when I had my school back in the day, I had 300 members, right? And I was playing the numbers game, and I was looking at it, going, okay, I don't want to charge too much money, to offset it. So instead, just get more members. And at one point, we had 300 members paying $120 a month. So you do the math, right? It was insane. So that's in the martial art world. I think that why do we always think that it's not okay to make money in being a martial art instructor? Meaning, like, people are like, oh, he makes too much money doing it. You know what I mean? It's like there's no such thing, right? That you should be compensated for your ability, and you should have no shame in making as much money as possible with your martial arts school.
Yeah, because we're trying to provide the best product possible.
Correct. And like you already said, you got Sam, yourself, K1 guy, like this is not free, right? So people have to understand that when it comes to martial arts schools. It's like, it drove me nuts when we started making real money in martial arts. Everybody hated us. It was like, oh, screw the Pavlages, look at how much money they're making. And it's like, no, we were there, 17 hours a day. You know what I mean? Like, because we wanted it to work, and then we want to make that community feeling with all the people coming to our school. But at the same time, as I used to remember people going like, oh, you shouldn't make this much money. And I'm like, well, why shouldn't I? Like, we're here 17 hours a day, like literally 6 days a week. Like, this is how it was, and it's like when you're providing the best possible, I can't imagine someone competing with you in your area with the crew you got.
No, not
Yeah.
there is a good gym with some fighters who fought in the UFC down the road, but they really can't compare to the product that we're
The
putting
product,
out.
yeah, exactly. And that's the point that people have to understand in your area. They really have to understand, like, hey, listen, it doesn't matter if you're trying to be a competitive martial artist or you just want to have safety in your life.
Yes.
Go see Tom, right? And literally, we want to put your martial arts school and all our branding for our stuff, so people can find you in your area, because it's super important. I really believe that. I tell people all the time in Canada, stop spending money and putting your kids in hockey. It's bullshit. It's a waste of money. It is. It's a waste of money. My son Dave, as you remember my son Dave,
Yes.
he was a great hockey player, but he always said to me, Dad, I love martial arts better. And I let him go in the martial arts world. And to this day, that serves him. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Hockey doesn't serve him, martial arts still serves him today. And what I'm saying is that's why I come to the realization that all these parents in Canada are spending all this money on hockey instead of, like, listen, if you spent 1/10 of that money on martial arts, the amount of private instruction you could get is insanity. Like, literally, people don't understand the mathematical difference between putting your kids. You know what it costs, Tom, to put kids in hockey in Canada? You wouldn't even believe me if I told you what each season would cost. The higher level you are, the more money it costs. So literally, like, when my son was playing his last year, it was costing us $14,000, $15,000, $16,000 a year for him to play hockey, which is, you imagine that, spending that on martial arts? That's insane.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. And literally,
Start school.
Correct, but
Yeah.
martial arts would really change your life. Anybody I've ever seen that takes martial arts and takes it at a serious level, forget about competing, just for their own life. Literally, it's they're just different people. You can see they're different.
What do you love
Oh
about it?
yeah. It doesn't have to be just MMA or jiu-jitsu.
Correct,
It could be
correct.
karate. It could be boxing. It could be any of these. I think they're all positive, and
So do I.
it's better than not doing them.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree.
What do you love about martial arts? Because you must love it.
You know what I love? I love the camaraderie. I love
Hmm.
the people. Like I always liked the high school locker room, always bullshitting in the back with everybody, cracking jokes on each other and stuff like that, and the not taking yourself so seriously.
How do you do that
Part
as a
of it.
fighter, though? As a competitive fighter, how do you take yourself not too
Yeah.
seriously? Because it seems like you would have to.
Yeah, you got to get embarrassed on the biggest stages of the world a few times. You know what I mean? You got to get as a fighter, very few people go in it and don't get their ass kicked. So it definitely in fighting, boxing always can bring you right down to earth.
Yeah,
Real
that's a
quick.
good point. Yeah.
It's those who are untested kind of.
It's so true,
themselves
Tom.
too serious.
We're literally talking about the smallest amount of people in the world that haven't, like the John Joneses of the world and the Khabibs of the world. But literally, you can count on one hand how many people that is in the entire world and in the MMA world that have not had that happen to them. The other 95 point whatever percent has happened, no matter who
Yes.
you are. Do you remember us all talking about Chuck Liddell at one point? Like he was the greatest, no one could kill this guy. And then all of a sudden
Yeah.
he got it. Vitor Belfort, all these guys, we were all like in
Silva.
awe. We were
Yeah,
just,
like-
and you go to boxing, you look at Mike Tyson, you look at all these people, you were always like in awe. And then all of a sudden it always catches up to you, and it always adjusts you in life. Like it just kind of reminds you that, yeah, you could train forever, you could do all these things forever, but there's always going to be someone else.
If you stay in it long, like even
Long
John
enough.
Jones,
John Jones, yeah.
Yeah.
even him, if he's still fighting, he's still got a chance of getting beat up.
Yeah, that's true.
100%. And you know what's funny? Every day that goes by, Tom, you're right, because every day that goes by is worse for him. Meaning, I saw him fight Stipe. Stipe was 42 years old, and Stipe looked 42, right? And I loved what Stipe said after, because Stipe, as everybody said, arguably the best heavyweight of all time, questionable, but literally he did at that time in his era, he was. And but when he went to retire, Joe Rogan asked him, he said, what are you going to do next? He goes, I'm done. I'm retiring. He didn't even take his gloves off and put him in the center of the ring. He just said, I'm done. I'm out. See you later. I'm 42 years old.
Thank God.
I'm 42 years old. I'm rich. I got money. I'm still a firefighter. I have a beautiful wife, kids. I'm out, man. See you later. Like no taking off the gloves, no putting them in the center, none of that stuff. I'm out. See you later. No excuses, no nothing.
Tom, when we see this a lot, but when a fighter stretches it too far, when a fighter keeps going back into the ring and when he shouldn't, what was your experience with that? And have you had to deal with anyone and try to help them understand that maybe the time's passed?
Injury kept me out.
Mm-hmm.
That once the injuries, I don't think it was because I couldn't have competed at the higher level. I think it was just, some people just one too many surgeries going to that table one too many times.
Yep.
The back not holding up as it did. Once it was apparent that my back was going out and I was a punching bag when it would lock up, it's like I just can't grind anymore. That's it. And I didn't have a big fight. I was getting ready to go fight in Bellator after the UFC cut me, and I was going to call the matchmaker that day, Rich Cho, and he said, well, we'll talk today. Then just feeling that in practice, and I'm like, no, my time's done. I didn't have a fight and then retire. It was unfortunate. I told a room full of fighters at Team Quest, like, nope, that's it. This was it. No big chance to lay gloves down or anything.
Yeah.
When your ticket is called, your ticket is called.
It's so true, eh?
Yeah.
It's not, there's no, that's happened for a lot of guys, I'm sure. Like it was in the training room where they looked at their buddies and all their training partners, and just like you did, and said, hey, it's a wrap. I'm done,
If there was $1 million or $2 on the line, it'd be a different story. You'll do what Stipe did.
Yeah, correct. And that's what Stipe did do.
He took his last payday. I don't
Yeah,
blame him.
Yeah,
And I
no,
don't know,
of
and
course
no
not.
one blames him today because he literally was probably the most understated heavyweight in history of MMA. He
Yes.
he never was, even in the leading up to this fight. They literally didn't say nothing about him whatsoever, and he literally didn't care. He was always the underdog. He fought Overeem. He was the underdog, knocked him out. He was the underdog, DeSantos. He knocked him out. He was the underdog against. He actually beat Francis Ngannou the first time they fought.
Yes.
He did all these things, and people still didn't give him any respect. And that's why I liked when he was interviewed by Rogan at the end, where he just said, "No, I'm out of here, man. I'm see you later. Thanks." He probably made 5-6 million for that fight. You know what I mean? Like by the time you do the mathematics, and literally, you have to respect him with because he was the guy that did do it on his terms. He didn't care what anybody else thought. John Jones was making up things about what he said about him and stuff, and it's like, no, Stipe, he doesn't talk like that to people. Like he's a fireman, a family man, and he knew how to fight. And he literally did go out with no hoopla, no no
No.
no
Yeah.
sparks were going off, no nothing was going off. And the UFC always said, "Oh, he's the greatest heavyweight of all time," and I'm like, you sure didn't treat him that way.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
You,
even
you
beat
sure didn't.
DC twice, 2 out of
Oh,
3.
I forgot about that. He did beat
That-
DC twice.
And
Yeah, that's right.
DC's
That's
height
right.
of his career too.
Yes, correct. That's right, Tom. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. Like, like when you look back on your career, you don't know nobody anything. You don't know anybody anything. You don't know me anything. You don't know Dana White anything. You don't know nobody. It's you the one getting your dick knocked in the dirt in training and literally in the wrestling rooms and in the boxing rings and everything else like that. And I'm telling you, man, I never talked about this enough when I did own the MFC, but the amount of respect I had for the fighters and just literally, I know what you went through because I went through it as training people back in the day, like Jason McDonald and things like that. I saw the pain and suffering and the injuries, and I'm just like, I don't think people get it. I really don't. I really don't, and I have always struggled with the UFC when they tell everybody they're worth $4 billion and they're paying guys like
More
there's
than that now, I
there's
think.
still not there's still a segment of guys that are rich from MMA, but it's a very short window of rich guys. The rest guy there's like a midstream of guys that are like upper middle class, and then there's some guys that are middle class, and then the rest are kind of like they just got to grind out and have a normal job. We live in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. There's literally 5 or 6 ex-UFC fighters that live in this town. None of them are retired. None of them have their own businesses really. They're all working again. Some of them might walk by them and go, "Hey, aren't you?" That kind of thing. But it's sad. It really
And
is. To me, it is. To me, it's sad.
it really is. And
Yeah.
it's like you got to also know how to manage your money along the way too.
Mm.
Correct. That's right. 'Cause-
Live
Yeah.
below your means.
Yes,
Yeah.
because you look at John Jones, Tom, and he just said, "I'm 37 years old." And okay, so you stop today. Oh, you're going to at least live another 40 years. So,
Yes.
that money has to last unless you're going to do something with your life after the fact. You're right. But a lot of guys don't. And that's the problem because they doubled down on, "Hey, I'm an MMA fighter and that's what I do."
Yeah, 10 years from now, if John Jones was to retire, 10 years from now, he's going to, things start to fade too.
Yeah. Yep.
The appearances that they're going to pay you for are going to be
Correct.
a little bit further away and not
Yep.
as much money.
Mm.
15 years, that he keeps declining. It's so on and so forth. And, you get buried in the sand of time.
I literally walked through the West Edmonton Mall, and the year after I retired from MMA, everybody stopped me. Like it was like stop every 5 steps. 5 years later, a quarter of those people said, hey, aren't you? I can walk through the West Edmonton Mall today. And unless you know me, that I'm my son's father, my daughter's father, or I'm Jesse's, me and Jesse podcast, nobody knows who I am. That's how it is. And this is the reality. This is the reality of, like basically started MMA in Canada, and no one sends me a Christmas card. No one says, it's just the way it is. And I'm used to it now. My wife and I, have had long conversations about it on long walks. She's like, that's normal, and I've accepted that, but that's the reality.
Yeah, I used to get stopped all the time, especially for like the last 10 years. Now I'll go to a fight and nobody will even say hi to
It's
me.
crazy. Isn't it? Yeah, and and Tom, you have that look which people know. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
it's
you're
like,
so
and,
recognizable.
and you're very recognizable, and it's crazy because it's like you literally sit there and you're like, wow, this is what it really comes to. But you have to think about that in every sport, hockey, football. We went to the Super Bowl, 7-8 years ago. I'm sitting next to this guy and I look at his finger and he's got a Super Bowl ring on. And I'm like, wow, that's a Super Bowl ring. And he's like, yes, yes. He was the quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I was like, I didn't even remember him. Like, then when he told me who he was, I was like, oh my God, man, I can't even believe, like, I forgot like who you were. But he's like, he was talking about that. He's like, that's the reality of the world. It's just like, today. You got kids walking around school today thinking that Jake Paul's the best boxer in the world, because he just beat a 58-year-old Mike Tyson. This is what we're doing,
Oh, that was horrible.
Did you watch that? Did you see that?
I saw that.
Yeah.
That
What
was
did you think?
horrible.
Yeah. The production I thought was horrible. It was streaming. Netflix itself crashed. Did you know that?
Can you imagine, Jesse? How is that even possible in this day and age?
Dude,
that Netflix can't figure out how to stream a damn boxing fight? It's
it was
insane.
Their first time.
It was their first time, but I understand. Like, they're trying to
Netflix
get into sports, and this isn't a good start.
And that was I wonder how many viewers that had too.
It had a lot. It had a lot, and so they weren't expecting the amount. I don't think, which is what the problem was. So when it was streaming, it started to lag because so many people were watching the same feed. And so that, again,
Jesse, it's
great,
2024.
awesome. Yeah,
it's 2024.
I agree.
We used to stream the MFC undercard on Facebook for people for free, and literally never had a problem with it. We bought the best stuff you could buy to do it. And when I was watching Netflix and we were watching it stop and start, we were like, you imagine with 270 million subscribers that they wouldn't expect a lot of people to watch this fight? That's ridiculous. Someone needs to be fired at Netflix, because this is literally, can you imagine that this was happening your first time out and you're this big of a company?
Yeah, they need to hit it out of the park next time.
Yeah.
But you watched it anyway, so
yeah.
What's your takeaway?
I'm sure everybody watched,
Yeah.
even non-fight fans.
Yes, that was the thing. They estimate 100 million.
Oh, for sure.
Which,
wow.
yeah, I mean, that's a lot. That's Super Bowl numbers. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so I watch it. I'm like, this is trash anyway. But Tom, give us a take on what you thought of that night.
The real winner was Amanda Serrano.
Yeah, agree with that.
She had a huge amount of eyes on her, maybe more eyes on her than John Jones did.
Yeah.
It was just kind of embarrassing for the Pauls. Their entrance was embarrassing. They're very cringy.
Yeah.
Now,
I agree.
Here's the thing, like, guys like us, and then people that are, kids that are 16 to 22, to them, the Pauls are gods.
Yeah.
They're big deals. Now, my question is this good for fighting? Is this good for combat sports in general? Or is this taking in a direction we don't want to go?
I don't know. I find it's very separate from like real boxing.
Yeah.
It's good. I mean, they are putting some cards out and they are paying fighters, and the more boxing, the better, because there is, a Showtime dropped it, HBO dropped it.
Yeah. Amanda Serrano would never be rich today if it wasn't for Jake Paul. No one even knew who she was until he put her on the cards. He paid her one time $1 million to fight, and literally she would have never made $1 million. Jesse, we're friends with Jelena Marjanovic, 8-time world boxing champion, and she's not a millionaire from boxing.
No.
You know what I mean? So that's she's 8-time world champ, 8-time. And she's been on this show. She's a friend of Jesse and mine. And literally, she's not a millionaire from boxing. And Amanda Serrano is.
Yeah, I mean, and that's great for girl boxing. They definitely got MMA has passed them in payday.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. It is what it's an interesting thing because again, it is bringing a new generation of boxing fans into it. However, like you said, this is exhibition boxing, really. This is exhibition. Like, this isn't really boxing. But maybe my thinking is maybe people want more. Because remember when the UFC started, like, everyone's like, whoa, what is this crazy business? And then people watch year after year and get into it, and then they understand it. And then they don't boo anymore when it goes down to the ground in a fight. But you know, maybe this is the next generation. This is what gets them in. I don't know. I'm hoping that's
because there's like influencer boxing in Abu Dhabi, where you know,
Misfits boxing. Yeah, we have Anthony Taylor's on our show all the time. And you know, it's funny. I'm 57 years old. I'm pretty sure with about 2 to 3 months of training, Anthony Taylor, I can knock him out. Like seriously. And I love Anthony, but I've said it on our show before. Like, he's not a good boxer. He's a good person. He's a good person. He's smart, how he knows how to get fights. Yeah. But I'm like, he's not a good boxer. And it's like, he's got fights now, like where he kind of like, he texted me today because he called out Ocho Cinco, remember the football player?
Yes.
And they're talking about making that fight. And it's like, Anthony is great at that. He's great at manifesting these type of fights and then getting them and making money doing them. But he's never going to fight. Like, when I hear Jake Paul call out Canelo, do people not understand how insane that is? You can call him out, but this is different. If you call out Canelo will knock Jake Paul in the first round. He will not get out of the first round. This is what you were talking about, Tom, about real boxing and not boxing. Like, this is crazy. Like, that's the problem with people. They're not understanding the differentiation between the two, because when Jake Paul fights Mike Tyson, everybody's like, oh my God, he just beat Mike Tyson. And it's like, do you not realize, like, that's not Mike Tyson? That's 58-year-old Mike Tyson. That's not Mike Tyson. That's the shell of the guy that we used to watch, right? And that's the part that really disturbs me when I watch it, because I'm like, if Jake Paul fights Canelo, he doesn't get out of the first round.
No, and it's funny, he calls him, but he's how much heavier than him?
Oh yeah, it's not even close. They're 5 weight classes, no, maybe more, 8 weight classes apart. You know, yeah, it's nuts.
Why doesn't he call out somebody his own size?
Never does that. Never does that.
I think they're very strategic in what they're saying. And again, you can't build what you've built. Like, the Pauls are smart. Like, they've started from YouTube as kids, and they built a massive thing. So there's that, I think. Now, what it does to me is that it actually gets us to talk about it, because of course we say Canelo, like, are you nuts? Are you going to try to Canelo? But we're all talking about it the next day.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like, I think they're figuring out again, is that it's kind of like we talked about at the top. Like, you have to be a bit of a character. You have to, the business of it is, you have to say crazy shit sometimes to get back in the limelight. And I think they figured out how to do that very well, and they've done that their whole careers.
I don't know if they'll get more views than what they got after this. You know,
that was big.
They kind of hit the top, and I think a lot of people are talking about how, you know, bad Mike Tyson looked and how old he looked, and even the casuals, everybody.
You're right, Tom. But no one really said how bad he looked. We all said how old he looked.
Yes.
You know, so it's like we didn't expect like 28-year-old Mike Tyson. We expected, oh, maybe he'll kind of just look good, you know, like, but he looked old. He just looked old. And it's like, it's almost like abusive when you watch it, because it's like, oh, look at 27-year-old guy fighting a 58-year-old guy. I mean, it makes no sense anymore. And someone said it best. Don't watch that. And unless Jake Paul fights someone in his age group, I'll never watch it again.
No, and he's probably not going to be able to sell like that again.
Well, don't forget, he lost to Tommy Fury, who's not very good. And Tommy Fury's the only real boxer ever fought. And Tommy Fury's not a world beater. He's not very good. He's not ranked anywhere in the world. And he literally lost to Tommy Fury. End of story. So I don't understand why people don't understand. It's funny how our society forgets things so quickly.
Yeah, really.
Yeah,
and
Tyson, they really do. They really do.
Just such a strategy what they're doing. You guys are right.
Yeah, they're playing it and they're maximizing cash. But that's it. Like, that's the thing. I just hope that, like, people don't get a bad taste in their mouth for boxing from this as well. Because there is like a both sides of it. Yeah, it could perpetuate something and young people could go for it, or you get we've seen all this before. Who cares?
And it used to be a classy sport. Now, what Jake Paul does isn't a classy promotion. You know, it was a lot of black tie affairs.
Yeah.
The rich and the famous would go. Tickets weren't cheap. You know, they were at good venues. It was like really like a high end affair, and now it's what he's doing is not a high end affair.
No.
The circus.
Well,
yeah, it's circus.
Or at least the main event is, you know, the undercards.
Yeah.
They do put
Real
boxers. They do put real boxers on there, but lots of times no one's really paying attention to that, right? So, unfortunately, that's how it works in boxing. And literally, you know, moving forward, like who he fights next, it's hard. Like he won't be fighting Canelo, that's for sure.
No, not at all.
Not this decade, anyway.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. When he's in his mid-30s, he'll fight Canelo.
Well, and maybe in 2030 you can talk about it. But Tom, what's next for you, Tom? Before we let you go today, what's coming up next?
Oh, it's my next generations of fighters. I got a big crop of amateurs, not a huge crop, but a manageable big crop of amateurs.
Drop us some names that we can follow and follow along their career.
All right, so I got Mary Rosenbeck. She's a 2-1 pro. She's out of Militia MMA. We got a guy named Julian Serrato who's getting ready to make his amateur debut.
Cool.
We got a guy named George Carpenter. He's a 2-0 pro, Penn State wrestler. Who actually one of Bo Nichols' buddies as well.
Good.
He's taking a little hiatus right now because he's having a kid. Then I got my amateurs: Josh Mackey, Broderick, Kelsey. There's a couple more. They're gonna hate me for leaving them out. And you know what? It's good. Like Sam's down all the time.
Good.
He gets working with my guys too.
Awesome.
He says they like my guy Julian. They train together on the weekends because he could still give them good rounds. You know. So he says, I got to come to your gym to not only get paid, but get some rounds in.
Yeah, that's
and
cool.
I'll still glove up and mix it up with Sam. Still do.
Oh, awesome.
That's awesome.
And then it'll be like, oh, man, you still got it. Like, oh, thanks. Today,
yeah, at this moment in time.
Because I'm going to have off tomorrow, so I'll be all right.
That's right.
Well, Tom, we really appreciate your time this evening and wish you all the best in your school and we want to see that hit 300 and more and maybe multiple locations around the country. You're a great guy and you deserve it.
That's right.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. This has been so fun.
Thanks for being on, Tom.
Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.
Hey, have a good one, guys.
See you, buddy.
See ya.
Tom Gallicchio, everybody. That's
there he is, Tom Gallicchio.
Yeah, Tom Gallicchio
on the Me and Jesse podcast.
Hey,
how long ago was that he won that?
I'd say 10, 11 years ago. And like I said, you know, what's funny, we wrapped the story about, you know, getting his back shaved and not just his back, his entire body.
Yeah.
And he said, I remember because I paid for it. Because I thought to myself, this guy could end up being the champ. And I don't want him on television, you know, hairier than hairy. Like I'm talking, he looked like like I'm talking, Jesse, I'm talking front, back, arms.
We'll have like some hunters out there thinking that they're capturing
especially
Bigfoot.
Here, right?
Yeah.
So literally, he said he's never felt pain like that in any training camp from the waxing
ain't good.
Yeah. So he got waxed and he looked normal, and then he actually won. And so it was like, hey, you know,
Perfect.
it was worth every penny for me.
Well, you know, that fight on the weekend was trash, but the whole
thing was trash. Did you see the Ryan Reeves hit on Nurse?
I did.
And what do you say?
Well, I mean, I hit him in the head. I Nurse got to keep his head up.
Yeah, but what do you think? You think
I don't think I think
full speed.
Yes, I agree. So let's say full speed, and I agree that contact is bad. I don't think he was head hunting. I don't think he was going.
But he hit him in the head, though.
But he hit him in the head. So then there's a penalty and then he will be penalized and maybe get a game.
And he'll be he's going to get suspended for sure.
But I think that in that scenario, because I watched it 20 times, and I was like, okay, it's a legal hit. There's no illegal hit. Sorry, not legal.
Okay,
illegal hit. But what's Nurse
So you're saying
skating
Nurse
around
could've-
the front of the
he
net,
could-
the back of
he
the net
could
with
have
his head
avoided it.
down?
He could have avoided it.
If you keep her head up, I think he's going to hit shoulder to shoulder to him. It's going to be a big hit. It's going to be
Regardless,
He was
yeah.
sending a message,
Regardless.
and I think that. But again, that's part of. This is why they have the penalty, though. So next time he thinks, okay, well, I guessed wrong. I came in pretty hot. I gotta check that, which I think is fine. Do I think they need to throw the book at him? No, because I've seen way worse. To me, like, way worse is when a guy's got his numbers to you, because then there's no way.
Yeah, that's different, though.
Yeah.
But I really believe Reeves, a guy like Nurse is out 10 days. They said minimum
Yes.
10 days.
There
Minimum.
is a talk about guys that do stuff like that being out as long as the guy they hurt.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Jesse. That's
It's
my point.
extreme,
So
but-
if he's out 2 weeks, Ryan Reeves should be out minimum 2 weeks. Like that's minimum.
It's an
like,
interesting conversation, that one, because I have heard people talk about it. It's tough when someone would like get hit and then go down and tear an ACL, and then what do you do? Because
yeah, that's
if you didn't
different.
get
He's out
hit
for
and,
8 months. Yeah,
yeah, like there's that kind of thing. But
Yeah,
but
or a
that
year,
being
yeah.
said, like, I think, and again, like, I think the league does a decent job of like scaling their penalties. But yeah, I again, it wasn't a clean hit. There's no question. I don't think he was intending to like take his head off, because he did come in with a shoulder. Usually when you do, you want to
I agree.
pinpoint
And
your
I'm
elbow.
trying to take the whole Toronto Maple Leaf thing out of my
Yeah,
head.
yeah, yeah.
And I don't like Ryan
Yeah.
Reeves anyway. I just don't.
No, me, I
and-
don't like either of them. But yeah,
but,
I know
but what
you
I'm
mean.
saying, yeah, me neither. So I'm trying to be sympathetic to saying, okay, if that's player A and player B, that's how I'm looking
Yes,
at it.
yeah.
But when I see him going at full speed, that's the part he didn't even try to slow down a little bit.
No, he was sending a message.
And Jesse, you're right though. If that was in the numbers, we would see Nurse in a wheelchair today.
Yeah,
So lucky,
and- yeah.
lucky it wasn't against the
Yeah.
boards with his numbers showing, because
I
that
think
would've
that
been
there was like a
catastrophic.
screwed up thing, because Nurse bobbled the puck, looked down,
Yeah, for
kept
that split
skating
second.
around in a dangerous zone. We all know you don't put your head down and come around the side of the net.
You do
But
not.
but that being said, he bobbles the puck. That happens, and
That's
he
right.
just takes it right on the chin. And yeah, he has to be penalized. He has to be all that kind of stuff. You have to go back and check if there was an intent to injure, and you have to go through the history of his career to see what happens. But yeah, I
Well,
do.
Reeves hasn't been really known as a dirty player.
No,
he's known
that's
as
the
a
other
tough
thing.
guy. He's known as a tough guy,
Not
but he's
dirty.
not. And I was kind of doing some research. I'm like, he's not really known as a dirty player. He's known as a tough guy.
Yeah, he's tough,
So,
which is
yeah.
fine. Like, you can be tough, but he's not hitting guys with the
That
stick.
shouldn't count against him either, though. But I do believe he should be suspended
Yes.
minimum the same time period as Nurse is out.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll do that this time. I think if
Probably
there's
not.
No,
Probably
not this
not.
time. I think that, like, if it was a repeat thing, like, I think that
Yes,
that's a
that's right.
conversation where you have a repeat offense, and they I mean, geez, that would be crazy if you missed a month because you took a guy out and you missed a month. But again, like, I think we have to go back to the Todd Bertuzzi thing when he hit Steve
Correct.
Moore
Yeah.
with his stick and pretty much killed him. Paralyzed him anyway. But like,
what did you? He probably ended his career, did he not? Pretty
Bertuzzi
much.
came back. No,
Dominic.
Dominic. That was Dominic. Steve never came back. So
Yeah,
his
yeah.
brother played, but
Yeah.
Bertuzzi missed the rest of the season and the playoffs, and then came back the next season. I think it was about
Yes.
30 games total, which was
It
probably
was a
one
lot.
of the biggest.
We should check into that because I remember it was a ton of games.
Yeah, it was a big one, and he missed the playoffs. But that being said, the other guy never played again. So
That's
and,
right.
And again, there was like criminal investigation on that one. But
And don't forget, I do believe Moore was compensated immensely
yeah,
by
there was
the,
a civil suit
by the NHL
and by Bertuzzi.
and by Bartuzzi.
Yeah, there was a civil suit. They did all that, but still,
That's right.
it does bring up the question of like, okay, well, what is fair compensation for something like that? Like, for example, Reeves on Nurse. Sure, okay, let's take out all the intent to injure stuff. Fine, let's take out everything like that. It's just an illegal hit to the head, causes a concussion.
Well, the reason why is too, it's that visor, right? So the visor on the helmet. So when he caught him in the head, that visor is the one that pushes. That visor pushes down,
Yes,
right?
Don
And that-
Cherry's
and-
always hated those.
Yeah, and you know what? It's funny because me too, because they've caused a lot of injuries, and we'll bring that back up too because they're talking about Don Cherry coming back to hockey, right? So
Really?
they're, yeah, oh yeah, it was the anniversary like, was it 2 days ago of what he said, those people.
Yeah.
And literally, that is like common terminology now in the House of Commons in Canada.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, when you, not that I was the biggest Don Cherry fan,
No.
but to cancel a guy for that, I don't know, man. And I still struggle with that immensely. I still literally struggle with the fact that he got canceled for saying those people.
Well, before we let everyone go tonight, show what you're wearing.
Oh, did you see it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you could see it.
Yeah.
But that is my Uncle Marty's Stanley Cup ring. It is absolutely fantastic. I only
What
wear
year
it.
is that one?
Well, it's from the 50s.
Yeah.
So I literally, I'm not a jewelry person, but when my cousin Andrew draped this on me, I literally lost it. Like, you have to understand something. My Uncle Marty was the Don. He was just the greatest. So I literally, you know, I got a portion of his ashes, a big portion of his ashes to bring home. And of course I got his Stanley Cup ring, and I will wear the Stanley Cup ring every day on this show. And I will wear it when I go out. So when I go to a function, I wear the ring, which I have, and it's hard to miss. And it is absolutely spectacular. Like, it's not even like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It is like, wow.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, it is
amazing.
So when I go to dinner, I'll wear it. When I go to a function, I'll wear it. And it's a tribute to my Uncle Marty, who will be buried in my backyard next to my golf hole in the summer.
Excellent.
So he'll be buried there where he belongs with me. And another portion of him will be going down the ski hill in Big Sky, Montana, being dropped on the ski hill where he skied every day of his life.
Well, that's really cool. That's an awesome memento you have of
very much so
of a, you know, just a small token of a major life that someone led.
Correct.
Well, everyone, thanks so much for watching. Thanks, Tom Gallicchio, for joining us tonight.
Yes.
And what a great guy. I love that guy.
Yeah.
And you can follow us on all social medias. Search Me and Jesse podcast, and you'll find us
on
everywhere.
Everything.
So
and don't forget about our main sponsor, everybody, Crystal Glass, your clear choice for all your glass needs. Call 310 Glass or go to crystalglass.ca today. Your clear choice for all your glass needs.
Until next time, everybody, that's Mark Pavlich. I'm Jesse Martineau, and we'll see you next time. The Me and Jesse podcast.
Thanks for watching the Me and Jesse podcast. Follow us at facebook.com/Me and Jesse.